It was Formula One's last great fairy tale story, a story that nearly never happened due to the global financial crisis, which saw half of a 700-strong team laid off, and which could have been derailed by a single chassis-cracking accident in one of the season's first 4 races. Never before or since has a team won both the Drivers' and Constructors' World Championships on the first try. But that's what Brawn GP achieved in 2009. Without further ado, let's look at the incredible Brawn GP victory, how it shaped the sport in the aftermath, and what's happened to the team after their triumph. Brawn GP had its origins in the Tyrrell Racing Organization, a motorsport team founded by Ken Tyrrell in 1958, which entered cars in various single-seater championships. Tyrrell won the Constructors' Championship and 3 Drivers' Championships with Jackie Stewart after entering Formula One in 1968. The team raced in the sport until 1998, when it was sold to British American Tobacco due to poor results. When BAT purchased a Formula One entry, the British American racing team was established in a new factory in Brackley. BAR competed for 6 years, reaching a high point of second place in the championship in 2004. As tobacco advertising restrictions tightened, Honda, BAR's engine partner, took full control of the team at the end of 2005, renaming it Honda Racing F1. Brawn GP was founded on March 6, 2009, when it was announced that Ross Brawn, the former technical director for the Honda Racing F1, Ferrari, and Benetton teams, had purchased the team from Honda for £1, following the Japanese manufacturer's withdrawal from the sport in December 2008. Thus, the Brawn GP BGP001 machine was born with a bad omen, with around 300 of the team's employees laid off due to Honda's withdrawal, leaving the possibility of racing the car at all in 2009 in doubt. Andrew Shovlin, Mercedes' current trackside engineer director and Jenson Button's race engineer at the time, recalled, "We knew it would be a decent car because we put so much effort into it, and we started so early. The year before at Hockenheim, which was about mid-season, was the point where we said, right, we're just going to forget about 2008 and we'll focus on the new rules in 2009. But really, the only time we started to think this was properly quick was when we didn't go testing and everyone else was at a test in Portimao. There was a 2008 Toro Rosso there, and it was the quickest thing by miles. We had pretty much recovered all the performance and were estimating that we would be as fast with our car. So you were sort of going, well, hang on a minute, this means that we're nearly 2 seconds quicker than anyone else. And then you think that we might just have our sums wrong. But nothing prepared you for when you started running it in Barcelona. And you were like, oh my god, this looks properly fast. There was no doubt who the weekend belonged to after the first race of the season in Australia. Brawn GP demonstrated that their winter test pace was real by dominating, qualifying, and finishing 1-2 in the Grand Prix. The frightening thing is that Jenson didn't even have to push 100%. The safety car period and a botched second pit stop made it appear closer than it was. He had a lot more speed up his sleeve if he needed it. Andrew Shovlin later reflected on the victory, saying, "All the optimism after testing didn't feel real unless we went to Melbourne and stuck it on pole position and won the race." This was an organization that had won 1 race in its history and that had reliably overpromised and underdelivered for years. That seemed to be all that we were good at. There was a desperate sense that you wanted the proof, and only when you did that were you convinced that you had a good car. Many people in the F1 paddock have been left stunned at the pace of Brawn GP. But should they have been surprised if they had taken a closer look at the team? Should they have perhaps seen it coming instead? The amount of time spent working on this car is the main reason that stands out. When Ross Brawn joined the team in November 2007, he immediately decided that the 2008 car was too slow. It had so many flaws that it was pointless to try to fix it. With a unique opportunity presented by the massive 2009 regulation changes, Ross Brawn decided to waste no time, using the reset to slingshot past the competition, having spent far more time on the car than any other team. And it was one detail that allowed them to do that. The new regulations intended to reduce downforce by reducing the size of the diffuser. But a loophole was left open, allowing for a second diffuser to be built into the crash structure and fed by 2 holes in the car's floor. This would be dubbed as a double diffuser. And it is that clever design that would pave the road to glory for the team. Toyota and Williams also exploited the grey area alongside Brawn GP, prompting their competitors to file an unsuccessful protest during the first race. The case was then taken all the way to the International Court of Appeal following the 4th round in Bahrain, by which time Brawn had won 3 of the first 4 races, but the decision found the double diffuser legal once more. Button went on to win 6 races in the first 7, laying the groundwork for his and the team's championship success. It was earned through hard work and a bit of luck on a shoestring budget. Above all, the team could not afford a major accident because it lacked the necessary parts to replace a wrecked chassis. But not everything went smoothly for the newly formed team, which had found itself in the middle of a world championship battle. The gap quickly closed as their competitors caught up and replicated their innovative double diffuser design. The problem was exacerbated by the fact that Brawn entered the sport with few sponsors and lacked the funds to develop the car over the course of the season. Naturally, Jenson Button's season took a severe dip after the first 7 rounds, as he only appeared on the podium twice in the remaining 10 races, finishing 2nd in Italy and 3rd in Abu Dhabi. Teammate Barrichello didn't fare much better, though he did manage 2 victories in Valencia, Spain, and Italy. Despite leading the championship, the rapid loss in performance caused Button to buckle under pressure and straining his relationship with the team. Jenson wasn't performing at the end of the year and he was struggling a lot with the pressure, said James Fowle, Brawn's chief strategist at the time. It was his first championship fight he'd been in, and as the year went on, we got into a situation where the car was just not fast enough to compete for wins. He lost faith with it, and he surrounded himself more and more with a circle of friends that said to him, "It's not you. You are incredible. You are the world champion." So then it was the team's fault, and it created this disparity and lack of trust. I was telling him he still had a chance, but until that point, race by race, you could just see him getting less and less confident in what was going on. And that's what can happen with a racing driver. Nonetheless, despite frequently starting in the midfield, Brawn was able to chip away at the points enough to maintain their lead, setting up a titanic battle at the Brazilian Grand Prix with all eyes on Button. The Brit came to Interlagos knowing that if he finished within 4 points of Brawn teammate Rubens Barrichello and Sebastian Vettel did not finish 1st or 2nd, he could win the championship. Things didn't start off well on Saturday, as Button qualified 14th, while Barrichello took pole and Vettel was 16th. Button got a clean getaway on a chaotic first lap, which brought out a safety car. Button rose to 9th in the following laps, and at the restart, sized up Romain Grosjean, whom he dispatched superbly down the inside of Turn 4 to move into the points. That aggression was a sign of things to come. The following lap, Button dived down the inside of Kazuki Nakajima, a move he would repeat a few laps later on Kamui Kobayashi. After the pit stops, Button was back at it, diving down the inside of Sebastian Buemi at the same spot to move up to 6th. Out in front, Barrichello was slipping back, and a late puncture knocked him out of contention. Button crossed the finish line 5th, becoming world champion. From the second that Jenson crossed the line in 5th place to secure the title, it really was amazing. Button's mechanic Martin McCracken recalled, "It's hard to describe that feeling, that you've been trying for a year to do it, and now it's over. It was quite amazing." The celebration started soon after, and it was the first time ever I had a couple of tins in the garage after the race, and it went on into the evening. A great way to celebrate properly. The season concluded with Brawn GP becoming the first team in F1 history to win both championships in its debut year. The story was a remarkable one, but in the background the team management had been in discussions with Mercedes about a buyout, reported to be worth $110 million. Despite the new investment from one of the world's largest car manufacturers, newly crowned champion Jenson Button had already decided to leave the team for McLaren. The absence of the reigning world champion left a big hole in the driver lineup for 2010, but it was big enough to tempt 7-time world champion Michael Schumacher out of retirement. The fairy tale was as magical as it was brief, but the magic of Brawn GP will be remembered as one of the greatest underdog stories in sports history, not just Formula One. It paved the way for today's dominant Mercedes team and had a significant impact on F1, both in terms of regulations and as the starting point for some major players who remain here to this day. Looking back, it seems unrealistic to expect such a story to be repeated, which makes the 2009 season all the more memorable. It's no surprise then that Ross Brawn considers his 2009 success to be his greatest achievement. The 2009 season will always be with me, especially with people we were with and the way the team came together, and the experience we had as a group was very special. It was a magic period because of the traumas of what went on at the end of 2008 and the way everyone stuck together. We had the difficulty of making some of the team redundant. Some things were a new experience for me and quite traumatic for all of the team. To come out with 2 world championships was stunning, and I'll never forget.